Landlords, some of our favorite people on earth, some of the most hardest working individuals. And I mean that dead seriously. Landlords, if it wasn't for them, I'd probably be homeless. Like, I'd be on the streets, pretty much begging for anywhere to stay. I don't know, cardboard box, underneath a tree, I don't know, maybe a cave. And I mean that very seriously, because if it wasn't for landlords, how would poor people like me rent? How on earth would we even afford to live? Imagine what the homeless population would look like if it wasn't for landlords. If you can't tell, I'm perhaps not being quite as serious as I may lead on. In fact, I'm not serious at all, because if you're like me, you may have dealt with some pretty shitty landlords. Yeah, I'm not saying every landlord's shitty. I'm sure there's a few good ones, but fuck, I haven't had one. Now, before I go on and share some of my own personal stories, I figured we'd look at what the internet would have to offer. Because believe it or not, landlords have even invaded the online influencer scene. That's right. Your favorite people are making videos. And if you don't believe it's high quality content, oh boy golly gee, you're about to be right. Alright, so here in this video, this landlord, he's bought a place that was being sold by another landlord, and of course it still has the current tenant. So now he's calling the tenant to raise the rent, as a businessman would do.
I'll introduce myself.
Okay, nice to meet you.
I'm not sure if the previous owner had told you, we're actually going to be the ones that just purchased the house.
Okay.
I know you have it rented, so I wanted to see if you were interested in they rented there.
Yeah, I do.
Hey, nice to meet you. I know I've never talked to you before, but, you know, out of the blue, you still want to keep living at your house, maybe? I don't know. Fuck it. Move out, maybe? I don't know. If I had someone buy the shithole I live in now and was like, hey, buddy, listen, I know it's probably like the worst time economically. Do you want to fucking get the fuck out or not? Honestly, yeah, I would, but there's a reason I'm still in this shithole.
Fixing up the house. I just wanted to get in touch with you and set times to start repairing the house and talk a little bit about the rent today.
See, he wants to repair the house though. Honorable guy, you know. Just a guy who wants to repair the place. No ulterior motives, no worries.
I've been here for over 10 years.
I would want you to stay, but we would have to raise it a little bit.
Okay, and?
There's houses in that area going for $2,500. You can take the lower end of $2,200.
Are you kidding?
Hey, look, I know you're paying $1,100, but what if it was double? Pretty good deal, right? Just a little bit of a rent increase. Only 200%. Yeah, I'm not quite sure, where was this, Miami? I'm not quite sure the laws, but here in wherever I may live mysteriously, but where I live, we actually did have rent control, and then basically the government who got in place said, yeah, rent control, fuck it, get rid of it. And now I'm pretty sure landlords can increase the rent wherever they want. So, but the thing is if you live in a house some X amount of years or older, it can only be raised by 2%, because I don't know why that makes sense. And so if the laws were anywhere similar, what this guy is doing is illegal.
Over double my current rent. I can't afford that. I have kids and I'm already working 2 jobs as it is. Where do you want me to go now?
Pretty class videos. Pretty big fan of the emojis, to be honest. If I was that tenant, would I like my landlord to call me, secretly record me and place it on their TikTok? Well, I mean, probably not. Actually, it'd probably be a huge piss off. So to contrast this story, I actually do have a little bit of a similar predicament. What happened was our landlord decided this house was burning a hole in their pocket. You know, it was too expensive. So what did they do? They filed us a notice to end our lease illegally, saying they've already sold the house, and that didn't make any sense because the realtor showed up the next day. So basically they tried to falsely evict us, saying their reason was selling the house and they could just do it. That was about a year ago. Clearly it didn't work really well, and now they have the sign gone, so I don't even know if the house is being sold anymore.
Why does it appear that all landlords are demonised and put in the same bracket?
I'm sorry, I just don't think that's fair. And the human consequences of a tax system and a rental system where a landlord can put up the rent by as much as they want at the end of every lease. Like, we desperately need caps on rent increases right now because the human...
Yeah, like landlords should not be able to raise the rent to absurd degrees that no one can afford. No, this is my investment. It's my business. Was monetizing a basic necessity a great idea? I guess we've done with everything, water. But at least there's not really like a super competitive industry with water.
Are you sure about that?
I guess the next thing we're gonna be having is air. Although I'm sure there already is that. We do have air purifiers, but I'm sure further down the lines, when the smog from the factories have risen, and the Teslas didn't save Earth, I'm sure you're gonna have that guy from the Lorax coming out selling you some clean air to breathe in, and then once we get to that point, I'm sure there'll be a whole nother variety of videos coming out where people are complaining about that. So
Listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
Tipping your landlord. You know how you gotta tip everyone nowadays? Why not your landlord? You go to Starbucks, they flip the machine around, leave a tip. Do you? But you don't.
You're paying your rent this month. Go ahead and sign here. It's just gonna ask you a couple of questions.
A tip? I'm not tipping my landlord.
So you'll tip a barista who pours overpriced coffee into a cup, but not the guy who's on call 24/7.
Bazinga. Gotcha. So you mean to tell me you're gonna go into like Little Caesars, they flip the machine around, you're gonna give them a 50% tip, but when your landlord's like, hey buddy, rent's due, you're not fucking pressing 100% on that bitch? I probably would rather tip freaking Starbucks employees, because at least they're making an honest living, They're filling up my overpriced coffee and not taking away a basic necessity, a commodity that I need. God, I would rather tip the garbage guy. I think I'd rather tip a parking ticket enforcer than a fucking landlord.
Okay, so you'll tip an extra 25% for somebody to carry you a basket of chicken wings. Tips
Yeah, I will.
someone who responds for after-hours emergency call.
Buddy, this guy is absolutely not showing up after hours.
Yep. Well, I guess when it's time for your lease renewal, I'm gonna make sure gratuity is included in your rent. It's a little tip I learned from Two Guys Take on Real Estate.
The fuck did he just say? He didn't tip me? Guess what, buddy? When the rent goes up, I'm getting my fucking tip.
Who are you? Get out of my house!
So I'm paying the rent here.
No, look, I'm paying the bloody mortgage. It's my name on the deed.
I'm paying off your
Buddy.
mortgage.
Yeah, you're paying the mortgage with the rent. Doesn't work if you can't pay the mortgage without the rent.
You teach your kids to clean up after themselves.
They're children. They're like one.
Well, you can still teach them, good manners.
You need to give us 24 hours notice before you come anyway.
24 hours. I don't need to give anybody 24 hours.
Yes, you do.
This is my house.
It's funny because if you actually think this is fake, it could be, I've seen a lot of Ring camera landlord videos, and any Ring camera video I pretty much just write off as a complete spoof. No, I've had landlords come into my house before with zero notice. My very first landlord, in fact. He pretty much just barged in whenever, and when I said the same thing this guy says, it was pretty much the same thing. In fact, he tried to convince me, because it was a illegal basement apartment, that I actually wasn't his tenant and I had no rights.
Why are you even... There's never
I'm
once
checking
been...
to see if there's any vermin, because the state you leave it in the...
I don't know what kind of vermin are coming after puzzle pieces. Maybe termites? Or a beaver? I just think that's quite a funny thing for her to say, as if there's food or anything left out. Vermin. Yeah, landlords, you gotta love them. Pretty much sums it up. Now, my real bad landlord story is probably my first landlord. Basically, I moved out of my house when I was 19, young little maverick, found his place of his own, his little basement apartment. That was pretty sweet, little bachelor pad for me and my buddies to hang out in. So I got there. For the first little bit, it was cool. Then I found out my landlord was kind of a coke addict, and I think the most distinctive memory I have was not when he told my friends he thought I was retarded. No, it was probably when I walked down the driveway and he asked where I was going, and I said I was going to go out on a date with a girl. So he asked me to show her a picture of her, and I guess for some reason I did. And his comment was, well, when you get back, let me sniff your cock. And yeah, it made me feel pretty uncomfortable. Not typically something a landlord would say. But yeah, these are some bad landlords. And if you've had a bad landlord, feel free to share your story in the comments. I know if you've watched my last few videos, you might be thinking, you know, this is really out of pocket. This is really, what kind of genre is this channel? And well, really, I don't fucking know. I have no idea. My name is Maverick. I'm uploading videos. Yep.